light crystal alchemy bowl heart chakra action to start off this beautiful 2018 New Year's message. Darren here. Pleasure, glory to be with you this beautiful time of year. I love this time of year, post-winter solstice. There's such a beautiful kind of holy space of not doing. Every year I write a message, just something I just tune in and see, touch the pulse of the collective, of the world, and try and see what I feel about the next year that's going to be tremendous and exciting. And I owe a lot to the inspiration for my message this year from dear grandmother Karina. It was a beautiful elder woman that I've known for many years and recently reconnected with quite deeply. She came in the autumn through Toronto and helped us run our Big Love Cacao ceremony event. She's a wonderful soul. And she recently wrote that for her, the year 2018 is about the year of mastery. And I really, really resonate with that message. And from that, I sort of reflected and sat with that in the last week or so. And my own sort of little nuance come forward, which is the year of masterful love. And just to jump into that, 2017 has probably been one of the most harrowing years for individuals and for us as a collective. I have never seen such illumination of the great adversities and suffering on our planet. We are literally being primed to witness just how diabolical the structures of power are the world, and how rife abuse is, particularly sexual abuse. And it's been absolutely terrifying to witness, and even more terrifying to see this growing sort of global pedophilia network that's being exposed and connected to many halls of power all over the world. I mean, it's really shocking to see. And this goes back to what one of my favorite teachers, John Lamlash, says, which is the ancient wound of humanity is sexuality. And sexuality is very close to love, and this energy of love that has been very repressed and oppressed on our planet for thousands and thousands of years. For those who are of Christian disposition or who just love Jesus, you know that part of Jesus as Avatar's message was he was trying to bring this universal religion of love to the planet. And you can witness in the last millennia since Jesus, as the powers that would dominate humanity and enslave humanity know that if that power of love is really fully unleashed, and we really care for each other, care for the poor, care for the wounded, care for the lame, and care for our own wounds so that we can be, then there's not going to be the possibility of ruling over us. We will be free. We will be liberated. So 2017 has really been a year of initiation. And my friend Andrew Camargo, he teaches a lot of Jungian psychology, and he teaches how the shamanic archetype is really being opened for all of humanity. We are all being sort of welcomed into the knowledge of what it means to be shamanic, which means to be a very mystically connected human being. But all shamans, and all human beings for that matter, have to go through a process of initiation to be truly transformed into our real innate power. And initiations are not comfortable experiences. I saw a meme the other day about if you're really doing your work and facing your shadow, you shouldn't feel comfortable, you shouldn't feel safe. And that's the case with initiations. It's about killing something old, something limited within us, so that something more limitless can be reborn like a phoenix flying from the ashes. And right now what we're witnessing is the death of so many perceptions of the world, so many illusions of the world, and how power and how the media works in the world. I mean, you look at Hollywood, and I've spoken a lot about Hollywood and how Hollywood is in great demise right now, because we're seeing behind Hollywood there's this great profusion of sexual abuse, and how that's been imprinting all these movies that we watch, and all the rape culture that's enabled in all of those movies, and the denigration of women's bodies as sexual objects, and the denigration of male bodies as weapons. This is a very, very deep perpetration on our humanity that has been taking place for a very, very long time. I would suggest it goes all the way back to those maybe distorted stories like the Garden of Eden, where we find humanity sort of shamed with this idea of original sin, and where we fall from this paradise, and the first thing that we do is we cover our naked bodies, which is the first act of sullying. If you can't love your body, and deeper, covering your genitals, which is what they were saying as well, if you can't love your body or your sexuality, you're cutting yourself off from the root of yourself. And any aspirations to be a spiritual being can become very dangerous in that point of view, because you can be, sorry, the Wi-Fi keeps conking out, but you can be so obsessed with going to the upper chakras to escape all this torment that's been happening on the root earth-based level. And we're all earth-based people. We all have ancestors who were indigenous peoples, whether you're white, black, yellow, red, there is an indigenous lineage to us all. And that root chakra earth connection was genocided in us all. You look at the European indigenous pagans by the 2nd century AD, it was illegal by death to be a practicing European indigenous person. And I mean, this goes for, of course, we're awakening now to what's been done to the Native Americans as well, in that kind of perpetration of genocide and such. And I think every single person can trace themselves being connected to some form of genocide on the planet, and usually it's a genocide of ancestors who were very in touch with the powers of the earth and the powers of the goddess, because the goddess is the earth. That is the primary, at least for me, and many of the ancient symbol of the goddess is the earth herself, who was said to be the goddess Sophia, the goddess of wisdom. So right now we're being it's being revealed in this time of apocalypse, which is the time of great revealing. It is not the end of days. In the 16th century, a Christian father tampered with that word and made apocalypse mean the end of days. It actually literally means the time of great revealing, but maybe for those powers that be, it is the end of their days, one would hope. But we are in this time of great revealing, and the sexual wound is becoming so revealed to us because we need to address it. If we don't address how to have a wholesome connection with our sexuality, and to acknowledge that sexuality is much more than just two bodies fusing together in sexual tryst. It's the cosmic energy of union. A teacher once told me that atoms all day are just having orgies. They're coming together in the law of attraction and coming apart. And when you really breathe into your body, that, what I said to someone the other day, the fact that everything is making love, when you really allow your body to breathe that in, it just activates all this latentness in the body. We realize how armored we are, how tense we are, because we don't allow these sensuous flows within. When people have kundalini, and I had a client the other day who was talking about how she was dealing with this kundalini uprising and all this sexual energy that was all of a sudden not repressed, and it had nowhere to go. And that's really what we're asked to do right now. We're asked to really bring in the sexual energy and not feel any shame about it, okay? Even if you're in the throes of addictive behavior, like I myself still battle with, the antidote is to bring a sense of celebration and welcoming and love to your sexuality. That will be the transformation. The transformation is not going to be trying to strangle those unwholesome patterns and try and destroy them. It's about hugging them close to your body, loving them, finding what is forlorn, what is bereft in our relationship to our sex that needs to come forward. And when I say sex, it doesn't mean just having sex with another person. I'm actually about to send out a huge document that I made for 2018 as well, if you want to read. And at the end of it, I share a beautiful practice from this book of shamanic sexuality on self-pleasuring. And I've been doing this ritual since my partner has been away in India. And it's a beautiful ritual of pleasuring oneself sexually and bringing the energy up through all of the chakras until it reaches the heart, and then having the orgasm from that space. And let me tell you, the heart is in touch with every single meridian in your body. When you plow bliss through your heart, bliss is sent and circulated throughout your whole body. And you realize when you have that kind of heartgasm, wow, how starved we are, because we haven't been educated about sex. You know, and I want to put out a disclaimer as well. There's a lot of rage in the world that's being tossed around as we come to grips with how much woundedness there is in the world. But this is where love needs to become masterful, because this is not a time to hate one another, to despise one another, to overly criticize one another without kindness and compassion, a fierce compassion. We have never been so divided as a species either. I don't know if you've noticed, but since Donald Trump became president, the mainstream media has been trying to put left and rights and foment really a civil war in America especially. And we have to be wise to these manipulations. There's a lot of lies, there's a lot of deceit. I'm not championing Donald Trump, but I'm saying that if you don't play this Leela, this cosmic game right, and you get sucked into hatred, hatred's a vampire. You become what you hate. We know that. That's cosmic law. So as all these wounds are starting to lurch up, we have to really at the same time, in parallel, evolve the power of our love. And our love needs to become masterful, because we've never seen so much division on our planet, and love is the force of unity, and we need to get our shit together. Because if you deflate the human egotism and you create an intelligence that is animistic, this is one of the cornerstones of indigenous intelligence. Animism means seeing the aliveness, the consciousness, the spirit in all things. You realize when we put away our petty human skirmishes that there's plant life, that there's beautiful animal life, that there's beautiful vegetation, there's ecosystems that are crying out for us to stop our idiotic infighting and go to them and ask, how can we reset a balance on this planet and have a right relationship to her? Yeah, to her, the goddess, the sacred feminine that we've been tampered with to have this war between feminine with all of our beings. The yin and the yang, the fire and the water, has been taught to destroy itself within all of our bodies, and then on the greater body of the earth we see that playing out in things like global warming and the imbalances between fire and water and yin and yang. But this is all starting in ourselves. Here we are facing perhaps the greatest adversity that we've ever faced as a planet. I mean, when you start to witness what we're starting to learn about the world and the deceit in the deep state and the shadowy governments, it's like that scene in Lord of the Rings when they first see Mordor. It's like, holy shit, this is on. And this is exactly what's happening. We're finally seeing Mordor. We're seeing Sauron. It exists. There's a great power in the world that wants to destroy our world, wants to destroy our humanity. And we need to, by seeing that, rise up in our heroic journey and realize to meet that challenge, we have to bring forth a mastery, a greater power of love, a greater power of unity and connection. And this power of love is not something any of us know. I want that to be clear. This is a mystery. This is something that we're going to unfold in co-creations together. It's not going to be one Messiah. It's going to be all of us as Messiah. But we have to honor the fact that we won't know what this great force of love is until we start actualizing it in our life. And we have to be aware and embracing of that mystery. And the natives and the indigenous knew this. This is why they called Source, Creation, God synonymous with the great mystery. I also want to share a vision that I received this year, because this is something that I go in the document that I'll be posting as well. And visions are really important. And all of us are oracles, as a teacher once told me. We're all oracles. We're all capable of receiving stunning visions. And I'm talking about those kind of mystical, revelacious visions that you have that utterly transform your life. They provide new guidance to you, activate latent abilities. And some of us have these kinds of visions daily, maybe if you're really blessed and enlightened. I've had probably a dozen or so in my lifetime, and they've all been incredible teaching moments. And I wanted to share one that happened in this past year, because it really has to do with catalyzing this intention of masterful love for myself, and something I hope will enthuse others. So, and this is something that I need to tell a bit of a backstory, because 2017 was also the year of detractors for me. It was the first time that I really had to deal with a lot of naysayers and a lot of what people call haters in the public. And some of that was ferocious feedback that I needed. And I'm always open to constructive feedback. I think people who know me dearly know that I'm a person that tries to really be natural. And all of nature has biofeedback. If we don't receive feedback and work with it, we're screwed. So we need each other to get that feedback. And sometimes that feedback is fierce. And if someone is fiercely compassionate, wow, that's skill if you can do that for another, to give compassion and fierce feedback together. Anyhow, back in the beginning of the summer, the Om Festival was about to hit, and my partner Clarity had posted on the Om Festival event page that she was going to do this red tent for women and femme-identified folks at the Om Festival. And she also noted that there was going to be some spaces where men or male-identified folks would be welcome to the workshops. And most people were very supportive, but there's a few detractors who were offended by that. And understandably, these are sensitive times we're living in as we heal these wounds. But a gentleman came on the thread and asked, why would men want to be in the red tent? And I saw that as a point where, well, I've been in a red tent in Guatemala, the Cosmic Convergence. So I thought I'd just share my humble opinion. And I shared a little brief paragraph just about how being in that red tent space was very healing for me, and I think it would be healing for other men, because you're in a space that's matriarchal, where women are leading, and they're really like unfolding these beautiful feminine teachings for men to help men address their own wounds and how they can have right relationship to women as well. So I wrote that very short paragraph, and then the next thing this guy wrote was, oh, I see, Darren Austin Hall wants to force men into the red tent. And I was kind of shocked by that statement, because that's not what I said at all. But I was away from Facebook for a couple hours. When I came back, people had sort of taken that statement and then just ran with it, and there was just all this hate and detraction towards me. And I was, trying to atone and say that's not what I said, but I was met by all this kind of antagonism of your mansplaining and stuff, and just shut down. And it was really horrendous. It got really ugly, and I felt incredibly And finally, Clarity just deleted the post, and then another thread was started where people said I had manipulated her to delete the post, which was utterly ridiculous. And I actually had to write the own page and ask, what can I do here? I feel like I'm being bullied in there. Like, you are being, and just don't say anything on the page. So anyways, it was a very intense experience. And as luck would have it, the next day I was in a sweat lodge with a bunch of conscious men. And I remember when I went to the sweat lodge, we do a bit of a sharing beforehand, and just sitting in a circle of very sensitive and elder men of all different ages, it just allowed that armoring that we men often carry in patriarchal society of not showing our emotions and such, and to be around men who were showing their emotions, oh my gosh, it just cracked me open, and I started to weep. And I really felt that pain of just being so misunderstood. It felt really, really terrible, because I've always been one who's tried to champion the cause of feminism and trying to find the balance between men and women and the masculine and the feminine, and held circles to that. So it was really, really painful to witness people sort of making up kind of lies and distorting what I was saying. But anyhow, I went into the sweat with this despair, and it was very transformed during the churning of it. But afterwards, I was sitting in meditation in the sweat. And this is where it got really powerful, because I received this vision. I suddenly saw one of the women that was one of my detractors, and she was actually a friend, not a close friend, but someone I knew. And I remember I was very shocked by how severe she was with me, because I was like, I know this person. Why would she speak so disrespectfully and so hatefully towards me? And in my vision, she appeared in front of me, and she was just filled with this rage, and she was just spitting upon me. And I remember just like yelling back at her when she gave me a moment from being exasperated. I said, you know, the war is over, this conflict between the masculine and the feminine, between men and women. For some of us, we've gotten beyond this, and we're ready to really heal the wound. Like, we don't have to hold this conflict, this war anymore. And I was trying to just mollify her and pacify her. And she wouldn't really have it. That just enraged her more. But immediately after saying that, I noticed there was this kind of lurking dragon demonic entity that was writhing around her. And it was like her being sort of dimmed, and this sort of entity, this nefarious entity, sort of appeared more colorful and more distinct. And I remembered right away, whoa, and the vision told me, you know, we're being possessed on our planet by very dark forces. This is one of the great shamanic insights, that we need to protect ourselves spiritually. There are great forces that can come in and out of our mind, in and out of our being, and tamper with us. And because we are so emotionally immature, we don't know how to really use emotions properly, and we get stuck in emotions. We get very vulnerable to those charged energies of emotions, to being access points for these entities to come in and sort of torture us with these unexpressed emotions that we hold in. So in that moment, I'm doing this kind of psychic battle with this demonic entity, and I remember how the more I'd face it, the more I'd do battle with it, the stronger I would get. And I remember that was a very key teaching. It was like, when you face these adversities, there is a sweetness in that it empowers you. Don't shy away. Don't be afraid of them. So I kept getting more and more powerful, and we're having this crazy psychic duel. And at a certain point, I got so powerful in this very noble, virtuous, sacred warrior protection power that I went poof into a higher dimension. And all of a sudden, I'm in a totally other place. I'm actually high above in the clouds. And the full moon, it was a full moon night. The full moon is right there in front of me. And by either side of the full moon in a circle are people sitting in meditation out of the moon. And we're all painted white and we're all shaved heads. We're like, I don't know, it was very strange, like that movie Powder. We're just totally white, painted white, and we're all sitting, eyes closed, expressionless. And Grandmother Moon is like connecting to us. And I remember Grandmother Moon was saying, you must learn to use love in a masterful way. And then all of a sudden this dragon entity was in the middle of our circle. And there was no fight. It just completely disassembled, quantum by quantum. It was like this skillful kind of neo-matrix power of love that we just infused on this thing. And it just transformed it. There was no pain, there was no fight. It just transformed it back into the quantum field of source. And I was just marveling at it. And then the vision sort of added this addendum that this is the kind of love, this is a very high dimensional love that we need to bring forth and start using with all this divisiveness that we're going through on the planet. A love that is paired to spiritual practices of meditation, of prayer, knowing now through the works of Dr. Joe Dispenza and others that when we meditate, we're actually scientifically reconfiguring our brain. We are literally becoming supernatural, as Dr. Joe's new book is called. And this is why love has a chance right now to really step into a masterful dominion when we bring spirituality online. And in my piece that I've written, I do talk a bit about this, and my book that I'm working on is about this as well, about how spirituality is very, very significant right now. It may be the most powerful movement that's happening on the planet. And it gets a lot of a bad rap for being new agey and stuff. And I think there are definitely criticisms there that are warranted. But we are meaning animals. I always say that about human beings. The meaning of life is meaning. We need meaning. We need mythologies, we need narratives to guide us. And spirituality has always been involved in that. The great spiritual traditions have always been about a universal truthing and a universal narrative of beautiful stories of the divine and humanity to help guide us into the greatest fulfillment of our potentials. Because if you haven't noticed, for the last few thousand years, we have been absolutely enslaved in a kind of tyranny on this planet. And we are very well aware of how powerful we are when we're unconscious. All of the destruction we're seeing of the environment right now is our power being used without consciousness. But when you wake up the conscious, creative, divine power of humanity, which I am witnessing in so many beautiful ways in communities here in Toronto and around the world, you are witnessing the glorious, innate, original blessing of our humanness. Jesus, Krishna, all these great avatars, they don't want you to worship them. They were just trying to tell you there is something deep inside of the human essence that deserves your devotion, more so than maybe everything and anything else. And all these religions, for so long, have been trying to tell us that there's something wrong with us. There's something originally sinful about us, about our humanity. And that is a tired and antiquated story that I am just ready to set fire to. It is time. It is time to recognize what some of our pagan indigenous ancestors told us, rather, in alternatives such as Gnosticism, Gnosis, which is self-knowledge, gives you the divine. You don't need a priest. You don't need a priestess. You yourself are the divine. You can access it yourself in masteries of love and meditation and spiritual skill. You can go deep within yourself and start to bring out all the 98% of your DNA that is not activated, and you wonder why. There's a beautiful passage in the Nag Hammadi Library, which is one of the only living documents we have of the pagan people who were the indigenous Europeans. And in this, there's a dialogue between Sophia, the goddess of earth, who is said to be the true creatrix of humanity. And she's speaking with the Lord of the Archons, the great false god that a lot of religions apparently are connected to. And she basically tells him that, you know, you can do all the mind-controlled maneuverings you want, you can distort humanity's evolutionary passage in all the ways that you wish. But there will come a time where humanity will wake up from a kind of lucid dreaming to the true innate genius of their essence. And when that happens, they will overcome all of the tyrannies in the world so seamlessly, so smoothly, so quick, so powerfully, that it will be as if they never existed. That's straight from her, from the goddess. And we all need to get in touch with her. Because let me tell you, if you've ever sat on the earth in a vision quest, and you've gotten into a great connection with the mother goddess, the great mother planet, you know that she is wisdom, that she is the wisdom that we're looking for. No wonder in cities and stuff, where love perishes, It's because we're so obsessed with our own egotistical mind. All these creations are all ours, but when you're in nature, you're in her domain, her creations. And that's why all the great sages, all the great rishis, all the Christs, all the Buddhas, where did they receive all their wisdom? They were all forest-dwelling sages. They didn't learn from someone. They learned from something. And that something was always nature. And what is nature? Well, the ancients called nature her. So it's time. It's time to fall in love with the earth, to romance Mother Earth, and realize saving the environment just isn't about saving the environment or the ecology. That's part of it. But it's also about saving wisdom, or the womb of wisdom. And without wisdom, we're done. And we need a planet as well, of course, to live on. So, we are entering into 2018, the year of masterful love. This is the year where I really feel all the struggles that we've been going through are really going to start to pay off. We are going to be like that winter solstice energy, that light making a comeback. And it's a time for us to consider, how can we be masterful in our lives? It's our chance to be on the path of mastery and ask, what does that mean? And how do we make a new kind of love on this planet, a new understanding that's going to masterfully unite all these disparate units in a great symphony of creation. So this is something for us all to take upon, and I'm really insanely, gloriously excited for the prospects and the possibilities, because I'm witnessing the beauty and the kindness that's starting to unravel from us awakening to all this suffering. When we wake up to just how much we've been deceived and used and abused, and it's incredible, just when you look at the banking system and the radiation from cell phones and genetically modified food and pollution and chemtrails. I mean, oh my gosh, it's a wonder that we're still actually alive. But that speaks to the great glory and the power of our humanity. And this is going to be the year where we are going to show ourselves and show the universe the masters that we are, and the masters of love that we are. This is the battle for interdependence, the war and the battle that will end all wars and battles, because paradoxically, you can't fight an enemy if you're interdependent and you realize that we're all interconnected. And that's what we're realizing. Science is confirming the unified field. The natives call that spirit. That's all spirit is. Spirituality is simply being interested in the unified quantum field that connects all things in oneness. And oneness, any experience of oneness, is the essence of spirituality. That feeling of bliss when you feel connected and being made love to by all things in the universe in a supra-cosmic, sexual, intimate way. And in that vein, I mean sexual in a more energetic way. Anyhow, I could go on and on. I'm a very long-winded man, as you can tell, but I think I'll stop it there. I think we're closing in on 30 minutes. But just wanted to finish off by giving major props to Grandmother Karina, to all the great wise grandmothers. If you find them in your life, hold close to them. We need those elder feminine teachers. My gosh, we need the elder men too. They're stepping forward, big way. But there's definitely been a deficit in the department of the femme. So if you know Grandmother Karina, I'm going to tag her on this, connect with her. She's out in BC. We're going to bring her back through Toronto, hopefully soon, so she can continue spreading her wild, wise wisdom. And just also want to note, if you haven't got tickets for the Sound Healing Meditation concert on New Year's Day from 4 to 6 p.m., check it out. We're already have a great group. We're going to be joining us at Beaches United. It's going to be incredible, the amount of beauty. There's going to be Catherine Miriam on harp, Zach Sukaway on didge and hung drum, Sarah Surrenders on gongs and Tibetan bowls. It's going to be the perfect way to bring the frequencies of the new year into your life, to connect with them, and to really throw yourself into an effervescent intention circle and free chant, which we're going to do to seed all of our intentions into the next year. I see you, Samit. You got your tickets. Brilliant. So it's going to be a wonderful concert. And last but not least, I'm going to post this document. It's a long one, but there's also some beautiful pictures that I've compiled from my own year and conscious events in Toronto. So you might see some cool events and stuff. And there's a lot of stuff in this more about the sexual wound, and I really implore you to check it out. I also include the self-pleasuring ritual from this book at the end of the document, and I really encourage you to partake in that practice. And if you are in couple, if you are with a partner, my beloved Clarity and I are going to be running this beautiful tantric retreat for couples, February 18th to 20th. Please join us. It's going to be so wonderful. There's already been a great number of couples joining us. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to do Cacao ecstatic dance. We're going to do lots of meditation, devotional exercises, partner yoga, lots of tantric techniques. It's going to be a massive upgrade of us stepping into sacred love, which is the way we heal the great wounds of our sexuality. It's about bringing in this more tantric and sacred technique, which is just such a wonderful wound to wisdom alchemy that is happening. I love you all. May you be glorious, magnificent, ready. Just get ready to be in awe. Make wonder your prayer, because we are awesome. The cosmos is awesome. These adversities are awesome because they're waking us up. We are ready for this. We got this. I'm with you. As your brother. Be glorious.